Hi, everyone. I'm Raffaella Folgieri, member of the Board of Director of GlobalWo.MenHub, and I welcome all of you here in this virtual space. Usually, Christine Marlet brilliantly introduced the Global Women Hub, but today I will spend some words on her behalf, hoping to fulfill the expectations. So allow me to show you some slides supporting my few words about our hub. The Global Women Hub is an innovative initiative focusing on cooperation between women and men at work, at home, and in social life. It was born as an European forum and became in time an international hub with the aim to pursue gender balance at work and at home in cooperation between women and men and not in opposition and reclamation of rights. And this is a focal point for our initiative. Our intent is to promote a shift from equality to acceptance of differences as an enrichment for women and men. So this is the core of our vision. Our vision is in fact based on cooperation between women and men to achieve gender equality as a co-responsibility and co-reciprocity supported by mutual respect and interculturality. And this is very important for us, and it is reflected also in our values that lay on collaboration, partnership, collegiality, professionalism, dialogue, and inclusiveness, openness, responsibility. All the members of Global Women Hub share responsibility, follow rigorous scientific research, respect the opinion of the other members, don't discriminate, stay constructive. We are all volunteers and we all believe in all these values, which are very important for all of us. As you can see, our members and stakeholders are from industry and industry associations at an European and a global level, from university, from the public affairs and communication sector, from European non-profit associations, and we rely on consultants, coaches, marketing and communication specialists, and many other professionals, all here to support anyone interested in our initiatives. And a mean through which we do that is not only these important moments, such as this event, these webinars, but also especially our website, which is rich of information and enable the communication among all the members and all those who are interested in our initiatives. We are very active in organizing workshops, even in person before this pandemic, webinars, blog, awards, internship, in supporting, even in our times, women, such we've had in these last 2 years. We all went through really hard times, but we were always active. And just to conclude, here are our contacts, and of course there is Christine, who is the Global Women Hub's lighthouse, let me say. I will not keep more time to introduce our Global Women Hub, and you can find everything on our website, but it was very important for us to let you know that we are here to support women, to show you our values, and to give the address of our website, and just to promote this initiative among women. Well, I think I will stop here just to let me, okay. So I think I will just stop here, and if there are no questions, I will thank you for your attention and leave the space to today's webinar. Hoping you attend our initiatives also in the future, and inviting you to embrace our vision and our long-term project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rafaela. So before delving into the dialogue and the discussions of this webinar, just a few pieces of practical information. The webinar, as you will have seen, is being recorded and will be made available upon request after the event. In addition, we want to render this webinar as interactive as possible. So you will have seen that you can either submit questions anonymously via the Vvox tool. If you look in the chat, you will see that there is a direct link to that Vvox tool. Or you are also free to raise your hand if you would like to intervene orally. I am the moderator for today's event. Some of you know me from the previous webinars of the Global Women's Hub. My name is Jessica Johnston. I'm the Communications and EU Stakeholders Director at Foratom, which is the organization that represents the nuclear sector at European level. But now, enough about me. Let's move on to our key speaker for today's panel. We will be asking her a series of questions. Please also feel free to submit any questions that you would also like to ask her. And from there, we also have two additional panelists. I will introduce them later on. But our first speaker is Magali Anderson. She is the Chief Sustainability and Innovation Officer. But in actual fact, my first question is really to ask you to provide us with an overview of your background and what actually attracted you to working in what is a traditionally male-dominated industry. Please go ahead, Magali.
Thanks, Jessica, and good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Very happy to be here today and share some of my experience, hoping it will be some use to some people. So I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. And you know, I graduated about 30-something years ago. At that time, there was only 5% women in my university doing mechanical engineering. But before that, I had done kind of technical, the thing before university. I don't know how you call it in English. In French, we call it lycée. So I was used to be surrounded by men. And when I graduated, what I really wanted to do was not so much to work in a male-dominated industry. I didn't, go there and said I want to go there. What I really wanted to do was a non-routine job. I wanted to do something where I would not need to be in an office, where I would travel, where I would be whatever. And so I really choose a job more than an industry. And the job
I think, Magali, there's an issue with your internet connection.
Yes. But she has a backup plan, I think.
Yes, I think if you could switch to the backup plan.
What doesn't kill you makes you... Oh, my sound is not good?
No, you're breaking up, unfortunately.
Sorry, you guys can't hear me or you can hear me?
Your sound is cutting up.
And now I don't.
Can you hear us?
So let me try something. How does it work now? Is it better?
Definitely.
Sorry, but I need, even though I muted myself, I still hear my background. Can you hear me well? Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
I know my picture is frozen, but can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I will just go on and speak like that. And sorry if the picture is bad, but I will talk and I will try to do my best. Very sorry about that. Anyway, so I was saying it was one of those experiences where you say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And from that on, I spent the next 30 years working mainly in the oil and gas industry, and mainly in all kind of roles where I navigated between very operational roles where I would be managing a country, managing a region. I was in charge of Europe, I was in charge of Angola, or very technical roles where I would be, for example, in charge of a manufacturing line that I did 2 or 3 times. I was a VP maintenance for the group. So it was really that variation of those 2 roles, of those 2 type of career, one either quite technical, one quite managerial. And then I moved from there. I went to Holcim, where I joined 5 years ago as head of health and safety. And it's a job I had never done, but it's a job I wanted to do because it was a time where I was looking for purpose in my life. I was looking for a job where I thought saving life was a good idea. And from there, I moved to my current job, or what they offered me, the board of director, and our CEO decided to give me the opportunity to join the executive committee as a chief sustainability officer. It was the first time there was such job done. And from there on, I moved, they added innovation to my role.
Thank you very much for that great introduction about your background. Could you maybe share with us some of the more challenging experiences of the various roles which you have experienced throughout your career?
I think the challenge I had was quite self-inflicted, in fact, because every job I took, if I can say, I transformed it. So I always considered that a job for me had to be something where I had to bring value, but I also had to question the status quo. So every single position I had, I completely questioned the status quo, and I transformed it somehow. And I think that was well noticed by my hierarchy, because in my 30 plus years, 33 years exactly of career, I actually was 5 times put in a job that I had to create. And that was actually very exciting. I've always enjoyed it. But it was one of those where you take the job and you have no model in front of you. You have no one explaining to you how that job should be done. And you can't just take over from someone. So one of those jobs was a VP maintenance of the group. Another one was I was the first VP shared services organization, where we were trying to put all the support services into one bucket. The CSO job was the first one, and of course, adding innovation to it was also new. And every time you enter in one of those jobs, you really question, why did they give it to me, and which type of capability do I have to do that job? So I think that was really the challenge. I never really felt that being a woman in such a male-dominated environment was a challenge. And I think the main reason I didn't think that is because I did it for so many years that it was kind of normal. It was my life. That's how it was. So I never felt it as a challenge, even though I fully understand why for some women it can be, because I adapted to that reality extremely early in my career, even during my studies.
And just kind of moving, obviously you have a very strong professional career behind you, and in front of you as well. But how difficult have you found it to combine both your professional and your private life? I mean, did you find there were certain expectations which outsiders felt that you needed to meet? Do you yourself feel that you've managed to achieve the right balance between kind of your personal and your professional life? Could you give us sort of your thoughts on that, and based on your experience?
Yeah, so in my introduction, I actually didn't say that I met my husband on that offshore rig. Very romantic encounter, both wearing coveralls, hard hats and all. You know, it's well, the good news is I knew that if he fell in love with me looking like this, I could never deceive him. And we will be celebrating in 1 year our 30 years wedding anniversary. So it's worked. And we have got 2 daughters who are now 27 and 25. So I won't say it's been easy. Absolutely not. And I think anybody, man or woman, who had to jungle between kids and professional life would understand why it was not easy. I had them early enough that I was full of energy and I could have those double lives that many people face. I think there was several things. I think one of the first challenge you have to tackle is a guilt factor. And I am amazed that 30 years later or 28 years later, my daughter being 27, it's exact same. It hasn't changed. A woman who goes to work is told by the society that she's a bad map. And I don't understand it, because you would think that by now people understand that it's actually not a reality. So I would say I fully respect people, and we see more and more men making that choice nowadays, who choose to fully stop work to dedicate themselves to raising their kids, and it's a good choice. If it's a choice that comes from what you truly want to do, and that's fine. But it shouldn't be a choice that is being dictated by the guilt factor, which is brought by the outside world, and the outside world would be your family, sometimes your husband or your partner, or the family of your partner, or the schools, etc. I got a lot of that, and it requires, I think, a lot of self-confidence that is not true. But what can help you going through that is several things. Well, first of all, finding your own tips. In my case, I knew I couldn't spend that much time with my children because I was traveling a lot, etc. So I transformed quantity time by quality time. And I made sure that every time we were spending together was special. So no TV, no cell phone, no, my kids are horrible use without all these gadgets. So that's one. But also, I knew that by bringing them the outside world, I was bringing some richness to their life that was for me very important. And if you are convinced, but there are studies, I actually wrote an article in my blog. I did not mention it, but I write articles on women in the industry in a blog called La Pétroleuse, which you can find on my profile on LinkedIn. On my blog, I wrote an article on the fact that there was a study made some years ago, I haven't seen any recent one, where they looked at kids who had been raised by a working man versus non-working woman, sorry. And they showed that the kids were doing really well from a working woman. So I think the other part of the question is, as a woman, let go the fact that someone is going to take a very important place in the raising of your own kids. And I think also women are guilty of not being able to let go. But today, I think what's more important than anything is both my girls are extremely happy, have taken some completely different paths. One has done a business school and is now working in a business environment in London, city life, good start of her career, really doing well. The other one is an engineer, decided to drop everything to go and build her house on a piece of land because she's a vegan and she wants to live as per environment. She certainly is the one who inspired me to go into the job where I am now. So, but what's important is they are all accomplishing what they want to accomplish and they're all happy. And I think that should be at the end of the day, your only driver is what you do, the way you raise your kids, making your kids happy or not. So.
Well, thank you. I mean, first of all, congratulations. If you're about to hit your 30-year anniversary, that's yeah. I hope that in a few years' time I'll be able to say the same. Yeah, and it's very interesting what you were saying about your daughters and the fact that they in themselves are building their own careers. They're doing what they choose to do. and kind of in light of that, I think it would be interesting for people to hear some of your more positive experiences. Because of course we always have a tendency to focus on the negative and the things that haven't worked. I think it would be good to hear about the things that have worked and the positive things that you've experienced in your career. And also, can you share any encouragement or some recommendations for our participants? And here I'm thinking, in particular, those who are just embarking on their career or who are looking to make a career change. Can you maybe, that's kind of two questions in one, but yeah, please.
I think my own career is actually a positive thing, because I'm coming from little village, middle class, mom as a teacher, father as a factory worker, and I was never predestined to become executive committee of a major company. So I think my overall career, I consider it as a success, and I'm very proud of it. And if I had to give some few tips, the first thing is just do what you want to do, follow your dreams. Don't let anyone ever tell you that job is not for you, whatever the reason can be because you're a woman, because of your background, whatever it is. Just do not listen to anyone. Listen to your own heart, your own guts, whatever you want to listen to. And the second thing is, when you're in a job, be good at your job. It sounds a bit silly, but a lot of women think that I have to prove something, and I'm against that. If you have been given a job by a company, that means that company is considering you were the best person for that job. And so you don't have to prove anything to anybody. By being put in that job, it's already a proof. But you have to be good at it. You have to do your best to do it well, because it's satisfactory personally, but it's also good for your career. And in my case, and it was never thinking of the next job. I was thinking, if I do that job well enough, then the ladder will come by itself. But then there is one thing that women are quite often not very good at, it is being good at their job and not showing it enough. So you need to be good at your job and make sure everyone knows you are good at your job. And I know sometimes you have to force yourself a bit by doing that, but sharing your success of yours and your team is super important. And I will say here maybe one word about the famous imposter syndrome. I think majority of women suffer from the imposter syndrome. I have suffered from the imposter syndrome my entire life, but it's something you just need to accept. You just need to accept that maybe you feel like you shouldn't be in that job. Well, it's all right. Just work on it and just do what it takes to feel comfortable. And I would like to give you an example. When I was in charge of Europe, my boss called me and said, the CEO wants to give you the position of VP marketing. And I was like, I don't even know how to spell the word marketing. Are you truly sure that you want me to be the VP marketing? So not only I had in mind, I have no clue how to do that job, but I also had in mind all the VP marketing that I know of are 10 to 15 years older than me, all men, all with big belly beers, and making deals at the bar, which is really not who I am. So why did he choose me? So I went in there absolutely not believing in it for a second. And I met the CEO 2-3 weeks later, and he asked me, how are you doing, Magali? And I said, well, you know, next time you push me on the deep end of the swimming pool with a lot of weight around my waist, give me a few floaters, because right now I feel like I don't know if I'm going to swim or drown. And I was saying that in the same time I was thinking, oh my God, I'm actually telling the CEOs that I am useless, which is certainly the worst move you can do in a company. But what he answered me was very interesting. The first thing he said was, I like people who have questions when they get in a job, because that means you are not arrogant, that means you are going to work hard, and that means you are going to put all the chances of success on your side. So that was very, very interesting. And the second part, which was about, do I need to grow my belly beer right now to look like the others? The other thing he told me, he said, why do you think I choose you for that job? And don't you think that I know you don't look like the others? Of course I know that. And the reason I choose you for that job is because I think that job needs to be transformed. And I want you to do that. So the last thing I want you to do is try to look like the others. You have to be Magali, and you have to run that job as Magali would do it. And that was such an eye-opener to me. And that's really the example I would give to everyone. If you think you're not fit for a job, if the company gave it to you, there is a reason. Just go and do it and be yourself and do it as yourself. And I mean, in my case, it worked, and I'm sure it will work for everybody.
Thank you very much, Magali. Before heading to our two next panelists, I just wanted to check whether there was anybody from the audience who has a question that they would like to raise now, or there will also be a discussion afterwards, so you are free to raise your questions later on. But does anybody have a pressing question that they would like to raise? I don't see any hands raised for the time being. So let's now move over to our next panelist, Rania Ekaterini. Good to meet you. Thank you for joining us for this session, for volunteering to take part in the panel. Rania is the founder and the managing partner of Ekati Consulting, which is a boutique consulting firm providing strategic business and financial advisory services. She also currently serves as the independent board member on 3 listed companies, 2 of which are included in the Athens Large Cap 25 Index. She's also chair or member in various board committees, including nominations, remuneration, audit, and sustainability committee. So let's delve into the first question that we have for you, Rania. Have you faced any challenges during your career? And can you possibly give us an indication as to whether you think these challenges were in part related to the fact that you're a woman, or whether there are other factors that also should be taken into account?
Thank you for inviting me today. I think I'm thrilled because most of what I've heard from Magali is quite similar to my experiences, both on the challenging side, but also on the conclusions about how you can move ahead being a women professional. I think my career was full of challenges, but that was the good part because, you know, as a result of these challenges, I was able to become stronger and move on to the next part. So, you know, I'm an engineer, as Magali said, I'm an electrical engineer. So it was, you know, 3 women in a university course of 150 men. My career, you know, evolved in industries, being, you know, a banking industry, M&A, corporate finance, then the energy sector, oil and gas, and electricity sector. It was all male dominated, but that was not the real challenge. The real challenge is about how you grow yourself in an environment which is changing, in an environment that has different you know, requirements from you as a professional, and how you see yourselves and your skill sets evolving, you know, in order to be able to address these new challenges. I think the path to leadership for a woman is not an easy one. If someone tells you that this can happen overnight, probably is lying. It requires to become stronger every single time, to become smarter, you know, how you position yourself and how you brand yourself and how you make sure that, you know, people recognize who you are.
I mean, Italy, and the other one's Jessica Sombrassos.
Oh, and it requires to become resilient. Women definitely have to face many challenges, being both at work but also at family. And you know, again, what Magali said, I remember when I was younger, I was working hard. I was trying to build my career. How many times, you know, other women or other people in my social environment or even in the family, they were asking, how do you manage being a mother? I'm a mother of 2 daughters, by the way. So again, a close similarity to what I heard from Magali before. How do you manage having the mother's role, but also, you know, being such a hard-working professional? So I think for us being female professionals, we have to confront painful realities, and many times we have to make painful trade-offs. But at the end of the day, we need to live our lives without regrets. There is never right or wrong. It's the choice you make. It's the choice that you feel, you know, good with yourself. And I think that's how you mature as a professional and as a woman. I think we can discover the leaders we are by being confident, by being balanced, by being happy, and by being positive. In my life, as I said, my career developed through challenges. So again, it was the oil crisis back in the 90s. I moved into the banking system. I got myself exposed in areas, being an engineer, which I didn't know, but I managed to understand, you know, the financial services industry and move on. Then it was the 2008, you know, global financial crisis. So I thought, it was time to move on to the industry. I thought the industry is the real thing. It's where, you have people, you manage teams, you have people on the ground, you have assets, and that's where you produce, what is needed for society and for development and progress. So I moved to the electricity industry, and I was deputy CEO of the biggest electricity utility in Greece, having to manage lignite mines, power generation, I think 110 power plants around the country, plus 7 million, customers. That was a real challenge if you have to combine it with the fact that at that time, Greece was going through the sovereign crisis. So, the government had zero liquidity, the corporates had zero liquidity. So you have to manage people and you had to manage expectations at times that you have no access to capital. But again, this is painful. This keeps you awake at nights, but it makes you stronger, and it makes you realize how much you can give from yourself, what kind of leader you are, and what you expect, going forward in your career. Another thing which I find very interesting in this journey is that I had a chance to meet many women. For me, that was so I got exposed to different sectors. I got exposed to different crises which I had to manage, and I became resilient. I managed not to be afraid. I managed to be able to take decisions and keep myself less awake at nights. But in this trip, meeting women was remarkable women, both in their careers, but also elsewhere. Women that they became examples in countries where they were even afraid of their lives. It was an amazing experience and gave me lots of inspiration. And why I say that, sometimes we think about women networks, it's about exchanging cards and meeting women in power and so on. It's not about that. It's human connections. It's stories you're sharing with other women, which maybe they have similar experiences to you, or advice you may seek from women which they have a different perspective from you, and sort of they can really help you navigate through your problems. Or even better, if you're a woman that you feel accomplished, it's such a great pleasure to be able to help and lead and support and mentor younger women that they have all these beautiful skills and talents, but at the same time in this crazy world they don't know what to choose, how to move ahead, how to manage themselves and get them more exposed and be able to move on in their lives. The greatest challenge which I have still, it's the challenge of being balanced. This I haven't managed to to have it 100% under control. This means that you have to keep yourself energized. But being a mother and being sort of a CEO, an executive with too many things managing on a daily routine, it's very difficult to keep yourself physically, mentally, emotionally in balance. It's very difficult at all times to be able to let it go in terms of your stress and anxiety. And it's very difficult. I am happy. I'm in good terms with myself. I have I have internal, let's say, satisfaction and everything, but keeping this balance at all moments, it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing at all. And, it's something that I still need to develop myself. So, so that's about, the challenges and the journey of a woman professional maturing in their professional, but also in her personal life.
Thank you, Rania. And could you share with us some thoughts about what additional skills and experience female talents need to develop today in order to progress faster in their careers?
Listen, I think Magali also mentioned some of them. For me, it's a very easy, because I take my example and how I see things now after 25 years of experience. So I'll try to put it in a sort of an order. So the first thing is that you need to build your life around your true strengths. And your true emotions and who you are. So staying true with yourself and not worrying that you have weaknesses which at times can pop off and destroy your image or something. So live your life around your own strengths. The second one is that you have to keep things in perspective. You have to put a frame in your reality. There's so many, usually we have this sort of list of things to tick the box. We need to prioritize, basically. We cannot do it all. And sometimes some things we can do it wrong, or we cannot be sort of the best or whatever. Put priorities, let something go. We cannot win it all, and put a frame in this sort of chaotic reality that a woman, can easily fall into. The third thing is you need to be grateful in your life. So if you have a family, if things go well for you, if you are healthy, you live in a safety environment and things, try and sort of feel all the good things which are happening to your lives, and stop sort of paying attention to what didn't go well, or what you could have done better, or what you're missing out, and stuff like that. So, think about the good things which are happening to your life. Another important thing is visualize. Sometimes women, because they're sort of in this chaotic situation, they don't visualize what they want. Just take a moment and see what you want to do in the next 5 minutes, in the next year, in the next 5 years, both in terms of your personal, but also in terms of your professional life, and start do something about it. I mean, look for the opportunity, look for what will take you to your next step. Brand yourself, challenge the others about what you want and what you want to achieve. And the last one, which again, women are doing it better, but not good enough yet, is to make these connections. As I said, connection is not professional connection. It's connections with people that they have something to tell you. It can be friends, it can be, colleagues from work, it can be a professional network of women that, you can share experiences. I think it's very important. I think I left one skill set, which I think makes someone to become a leader. And this one is about, no one can succeed on his own, impossible. So you have to build teams, and you have to build a network of people that, support you in your working environment. So you need to understand what kind of leader you are. You need to understand how you connect with people, how you can influence them, how you can really motivate, empower, and inspire them. And I think we have some good characteristics most of the time, which is, we have empathy. We like to talk to people. I usually, spend time with people to understand how they feel, how they can improve their skills, what kind of dreams and plans they have, if they have issues with their family, where I can help. And so this empathy, I think it's empathy and caring about people is what makes your team sustainable, what makes your team support you at times of crisis, and so on. So lead by example. It sounds very basic, but it's true. You are the role model. You're promoting in your organization the desired, let's say, behaviors and patterns and everything. And that's how you transform, as Magali said, the organization and your team into a culture and a mindset which is different from what you have taken when you got on board on this role. So how you relate to people, your teams, your colleagues, either upwards or in the more junior people. I think it's something very important which can really sort of support you in your leadership journey in today's very difficult times.
Thank you very much, Rania. Let's go now to our last panelist. So Sandra Graham, thank you very much for joining us, Sandra. I know it's very early for you in the morning in Canada, so it's great to have you with us. So Sandra is a highly skilled transportation specialist with a broad background, including transportation of goods, customer service, and general fleet operations. She's got a vast experience in all aspects of driver and asset management. So obviously a lot of us today come from the industry sector, which has been quite male dominated, but I think coming from the transport sector, I think it's even more of a challenge in some ways. And so maybe Sandra, can you just say a few words on what have been some of the more challenging aspects of the various roles that you've experienced throughout your career? Your microphone's on mute.
There we go.
Perfect.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Magali. Thank you, Rania. Oh my goodness, to go past you lovely ladies is is going to be a feat. Yes, so I am, my challenges have been since day one being in the transportation industry. I was young. I'm from the farming background here in Canada, so very strong-willed lady here. So my challenges have been, for starters, straight up just getting a role in the transportation. I was 19 years old, free-spirited, and we got my truck driver's license. Could not find a job anywhere. No one would hire me, so I bought my own truck and proceeded that way. I was an owner-operator for 9 years. It was time to purchase another truck, and at that time I was 26, 27. It was a different time in my life. I thought, oh my goodness, it's time to settle down, get married, have those kids and all that stuff. So I became a company driver, which was even more difficult. I literally had to have someone find me a job for me. It was through someone I knew. It was incredible. This was 1996 now, so it was still new back then. Still, again, a bit more in America. There was a bit more highway driver or female drivers in America, but here in Canada, it was still really different. So once I got the job, I became the benchmark for every job that I had, because my attention to detail, my attention to safety, my attention to the mechanicals of the truck. So it was quite ironic. I found that once I got into the job, I would inspect my truck, my hood would be open every morning. And then finally the owners of the company's like, you guys, you know, you just jump in the truck and go. There was no safety. There was just nothing. So it became a healthy challenge. I found at work, you know, I would do what was supposed to be done, and you know, they were also being watched, so they weren't doing, and they are the men. Sorry, I mean, I've really had a hard time working with ladies in the transportation industry on the front ground, of course, in the office staff and stuff like that, but on the front. So sometimes it caused friction between the men, but I'm a truck driver. I talk a lot. So I would always go in and talk to the drivers and have that conversation with them. It's not that I'm here to cause friction. I'm here to help. You know, the trucks and the components need to be checked. You know, we need to make sure we're safe down the road. Being a professional driver, our biggest skill is to protect the motoring public. So we need to make sure we protect the motoring public. And so once I had that conversation with the guys, it got a lot better that way. And then at the end, it became, we would all work together and we would do our inspections together. And then we'd have those conversations about, is it right? Does this look right? Should we do it together? And we do the inspections together. So I had challenges in driving for sure. But I always tried to talk myself out of them, and made it feel better and made them know as well, because I'm also coming as an owner operator and looking after your own equipment and owning your own equipment, and then becoming a company driver made a big difference. Whereas the drivers didn't understand the importance. You know, they just had the key, started the truck. They didn't understand the $100,000 investment and everything else that was involved with that investment. So, and that's what I found from day one, and still to this day, truck drivers never get that question, the answer why. Just go do it. Go do it, and never why. So my biggest now, as that I've come into the management roles, is to always answer that question why to the drivers or to the outside staff. Everybody, it's just, you know, I always use the Dr. Seuss book, go dogs go, go driver go. And explain to me why. Well, maybe you don't know that reference, Dr. Seuss. So yeah, so my challenges now in the management role are more with, as both the ladies have said, my struggles have kept my skills current. I've always gone to school. I've always updated my skills to be that best and to be in this role. So now, right now, as I speak, my struggles are as my management or my leaders. I'm a bit more educated than my leaders are. And it's all done by doing. I used to, my least favorite expression is, well, this is the way we used to do it. Well, the way we used to do it was great then, but in transportation, it's so fluid and it's so changing that we can't have this the way it was used to be done before. We have to stay current in those skills. So that's my challenges right now. And yeah, so Jessica, yes, those are my challenges. I've been pretty lucky. Yeah, as the other ladies with Magali and Rania, I didn't have children young. I had my child at 40, so I never ever had those struggles back then. Now, so that's when I stopped driving. I didn't have any of those problems and became in the management roles when I had my little girl at 40.
Thank you. And actually, yes, I myself also put career first and children later. It has its advantages, has its disadvantages. But yeah, I can see why you took that decision. It's yeah. And maybe, yeah, can you obviously you shared a bit of how you managed to get around those challenges, but I think it'd be good in kind of what following from what Magali was saying in terms of the positive experiences that you've had. Do you have any encouragement or recommendations which you'd also like to pass on to our participants, again, focusing really for people who are just out starting their career or those who are looking to change careers, to move into a completely different direction?
Yes, I have been a trainer now, truck trainer now, in the safety roles. I specifically are in the safety roles now, teaching drivers how to drive. I find a lot in Canada, we have a second career. So, you know, we switch careers throughout our life. We get bored of one or whatever. So I'm finding right now, a lot of people in their 40s, 30s, late 30s, early 40s are switching careers. And I think they see the role as a truck driver as, I'm going to go see the world. I can get a job and I'm going to go see the world. And yes, you can. And it's a great, I find starting out, this is a great role for ladies, just like Magali said, who don't want a routine, who don't want to sit in an office. Again, I've got some degrees as well. I went to try to sit in the office doing the same thing every day. It just wasn't for me. And then where I find trucking, transportation, every phone call is a different fire. Every phone call is a different conversation. So yes, if you do not like to be micromanaged, if you do not like routines, if you like your boss a phone call away, if you're able to do your work and get it done without that assistance, because that's what truck driving is. When I first started in 1989, like we all did, long before cell phones and everything like that, everything was done by, I'm doing it, I will be here, and that's our word meant so much then. And so yeah, so there's so many incredible experiences I've had driving. Being a team member, like Rania said, everything is a team. It takes a village to do everything as in our businesses, and it's a big team in transportation. So I want to say that please jump into this. It is a great money for a career, especially here. The only thing I don't like is how everybody says it's uneducated. Here in Canada, it's not a skilled trade. We're uneducated. But the last 2 years have really shone light on the truck drivers and the supply chain because of what we're going through right now. So there's a lot of opportunities. It's kind of been opened up now as a career because of everything. Supply chain is now, it's a common word now. You know, there's so many different things that the ladies can do. I was talking to Christine, and she was saying how dangerous it is and how to transfer to truck internationally could be dangerous, but there's so many different opportunities and so many different ways we can get around that. And it's all within systems and with the management, from upper management, starting with having ladies on, you know, we just manage their trip planning, we manage their fuel stops, we maybe run a convoy. that word I'm not liking right now because of Canada, but we can run 2 or 3 or 4 more trucks together in a team if we're running international or if we're running through nighttime driving. Myself, I had a dog, so it is nice to have a companion with you. You know, yeah, we're working on, we're here in Canada working with a lot of initiatives to try to get Canadian skilled trades. Most companies will realize that women have so much attention to detail. And so our challenges in the transport are our own fears and our own fear of not being able to do the job. You know, every time I told everybody, hey, I drive a truck, and they're like, oh, how, you're so tiny. It's like, I don't push the truck. You know, there's systems and everything in place to put together with this truck. So I want to have these ladies that are listening and are thinking about it to not have the fear, to look into it. Right now, there's so many systems involved. We have GPS, we have cameras, we have electronic logs, we have communication right in the truck, right into the office level. So you're alone, but you're really not alone because we're watching every step of the way with you. So I need to make sure that that it's a great career.
Thank you, Sandra. And I mean, it's interesting because in a way you've actually you've said the same as Magali on this about this kind of notion of an imposter syndrome. That
yes.
The women don't always believe, you know, they kind of astounded that they're in the role that they're in, and they're not 100% sure that they should actually be in that role. And also, thank you. You've actually answered one of the first questions that has come in via VVox with regards of ensuring your own security as a female truck driver. So I think that leads us into the Q&A session itself. As you know, this event is due to last up until 1:30 Brussels time. I know everybody, it's very busy periods for everyone, so we will not be going over time. So please submit your questions via VVox. We will start with the written questions first, but if you have something really compelling that you would like to intervene orally, please raise your hands. And we will try and give you the floor. We do ask, however, that for oral interventions they be kept short if possible. So let's move on now to the questions that are coming in. And first of all, we have a question for all speakers here, with somebody asking, how can we achieve serenity when you are working in a very demanding job? I don't know whether Magali, you would like to take that question first.
Sure. Sorry, I need to still play with my 2 sound system. I think, you know, for me, I think there's 2 ways of looking at professional careers. There is a job there to bring you a salary and nothing else. And in that case, it can be quite difficult, especially if it's demanding to go to work every day, or is a job something you are passionate about? And when you are passionate about your job, it's not demanding anymore. I know people ask me quite often, how can I put so many hours in my job? I said, for me, I love so much what I'm doing that I can't think of anything I want to do better than that. And because I can't think of anything I want to do better than that, I actually have more fun doing my job than doing 99% of their activities. So there is no stress there because I love my job. So I would say, yeah, maybe another tip is do a job you love. And I thought Sandra's witness, and if I can say 2 words, I know it's not a question, but on Sandra's witness, I thought it's fantastic because she clearly loves what she does, to the point that because she couldn't find a job, she bought her own truck. So she found a way to do her job. And I think it's exactly what it's all about. It's all about following your dream and giving you the ways to do your dream. And in Holcim, actually, I started a program called Women on Wheels, because I didn't know Sandra then, and I'm so happy to meet her today. But it was exactly about that, about what all the things she said. There is a big shortage of talents in driving today. There's a big shortage of drivers around the world. And in a country like France, less than 4% of the truck drivers are women. And as she said, women, we don't need to push the trucks. The trucks are now completely made for women. So why do we have that shortage? And it's purely cultural. It's purely women not seeing themselves in the job and other people not seeing women in that job. But once you decide that you will not accept that cultural thing and you go for it, you get a great life and a great life and a great job. So Sandra, I was so pleased about yours as well. Sorry, Rania, I didn't want to put one, but it's not that often we hear about a female truck driver. So we started Women on Wheels in Holcim, and we now have it in several countries. And we had a cohort of 53 female truck drivers coming out of our truck driving academy in Nigeria. And we are now multiplying that because I'm absolutely pushing. I think it's women should be given that opportunity like any other job. Sorry, I deviated a bit from the question, but I really wanted to share that.
No problem at all, Magali. Rania, Sandra, would you like to add anything about being able to achieve serenity when you work in a demanding job? Rania, you're on mute.
I don't really have to add much to what Magali said in the sense that if you love your job, you're passionate about your job, but also if you're in good terms with your life, you have sort of life satisfaction to the extent you can within the 24 days, 24 hours of your routine. I think somehow, you find serenity. And again, you need to put a frame in your daily life. You need to sort of try and see what are the important things and what things can be left, for next day or, so again, prioritizing, putting a frame, loving yourself, loving what you do. I think it's what gives you serenity.
Yes, my serenity in my day is helping, is training and being there and getting those thank yous and watching careers grow. And again, both men and women, and like we say here, Jessica, it takes both people to be successful. So men and women together, and we can create serenity together.
Thank you, Sandra. And then the next question is to do with COVID. Somebody's asking, how has COVID impacted your work, and what lessons have you learned? And here I'd like to maybe, as the moderator, I shouldn't, but just pick up on a point that Rania mentioned. One of the important things to do as a woman in particular is that kind of networking aspect. One of the things that I find COVID has hampered is those networking opportunities. Obviously, for us who have been in our careers for a long time, we have our networks already well established. But for young people today, this must be quite a big challenge. So are there any other things that you've spotted in terms of how COVID has had an impact, and how you've kind of learnt lessons for it or found solutions to it? I don't know who would like to take that question first.
Maybe I can answer the bad news about that. So COVID had a disproportional impact on women professionals than on men. And that's by statistics. There was a McKinsey report, but also there were other reports in the UK, which I've read, and in France and so on. So it seems that, the gap of burnout between women and men because of COVID has doubled. And before you had like 1 in 4 women saying that I'm burned out, I suffer from anxiety, stress, this and that, and I want to either, get one step lower in my career or leave my career whatsoever. Now you have 1 every 3 women. So women are burnt out, they suffer from anxiety because of the COVID. And this has had an impact on the pipeline of, women professionals, young professionals that, can move on in their careers. So that was not a good outcome, I can say. And I don't know what can be done about that. Obviously, we talk about, flexible, work schemes and stuff like that. But the reality is different. When you have to work from home and you have your kids and everything, personally speaking, I cannot give any magic, let's say, recipes about how you can manage to have, serenity at home while you have to sort of work hard and, support your company, your people, your teams from a distance. So the news were not good.
Thank you, Rania. Sandra, Magali, is there anything you would like to add on that?
Well, within transportation here in Canada, I've never missed a day's work, never missed going into the office. Been hands-on and just with the truck drivers running internationally and stuff, just providing them support, and their family support was critical throughout this. They were just as scared living in their trucks, you know, washing themselves. Well, for starters, nothing was open, but again, it's just, it was scary. It was a really scary situation. But it never stopped. Transportation never stopped. We never stopped doing anything. In fact, it's now busier. We are a lot busier now. So the support was huge. I found that a lot different with everybody, checking into everybody, because I find transportation's, like I said, it's not for the faint of heart. It's a very cold, non-feeling industry. And I felt a bit more feelings come out of this pandemic, of at least, how are you? People would ask, how are you? Because it's at least such a fast-paced industry, you know, those questions, hi, how are you? We would skip that sentence, but now we've added that sentence into our conversations with everybody. So that's a nice change.
Thank you, Sandra. Magali, is there anything that you would also like to add? And at the same time, I take the opportunity of raising another question that's come in directly, specifically at you. Somebody asked, how can we encourage women to move into another role or function without being frightened or without being scared? Magali?
Yeah, well, I think it's so on the COVID, I don't have much to add as what was said, so I will move to the next question. I think it's really, I truly believe that if you're passionate about something, you can do it, whatever it is. And I will give you my current job. So Chief Sustainability and Innovation Officer. As I'm sure you all know, sustainability has become a super trendy thing for good reasons. And I think the IPCC report that came out 3 days ago will push even more on that side. Now, I get regular calls and I discuss regularly with headhunters who are telling me, we can't find CSOs. Every company nowadays wants a CSO and we can't find them. So what's your advice? What should we do? And I said, of course you can't find them. Of course they don't exist, because the sustainability as a job is a very recent function. So it's maybe 5-10 years. So there's not many sustainability professionals, male or female, who have reached a level to become CSO. So what you need to do is open up to other opportunity and take risk on people. And in my case, I had nothing to do with sustainability when my boss decided to trust me in that job. And of course, I had to trust myself to take that job. It's a two-way thing. And I think, and that's what I tell people, you have to think, what are the qualities or the skills you need to be a CSO? You need someone who understands the business, you need someone who is passionate, you need someone who is good at influencing people, you need this and that. And once you make those skills, instead of making it based on people's experience, but more on people's skills, then the way you look at candidates is extremely different. And I think when you are the candidate, you should think of yourself that way. What are the skills I have compared to what do I want to do? And then dare, it's always a word of daring, of saying, of pushing yourself and saying, I can do it, and go and do it. And I really think that if you do it that way, you will succeed. You can only succeed. If you are passionate and you decide to go and do it, you can only succeed.
Thank you, Magali. And next question for Sandra. How can the EU and Canada cooperate to encourage more female drivers? And to be honest, probably to encourage more drivers. I mean, I think here in Europe, it's not just that there are not many female drivers. I think there's a shortage of drivers in general. Sandra?
I'm thinking back to bringing it back into a skilled trade. It's not a career, and they don't even use the word career as a truck driver. They're not. It's just not looked upon as a profession, and that's what I look upon when I was driving truck and I would see the ladies these are the ladies, that would be going out for lunch to the club and then going to here and then to the spa after work and stuff like that. Those ladies, and they'd be looking at me and getting out of my truck in my jeans and my t-shirt, my hair in a ponytail, and I just, it just has to be looked upon as a better career. We have to be looked upon better. We have to get that word out that it is a career that the only thing it does not carry is a baby. And once the word is out, and again, like they've always said, if we have to stop trucks and have the grocery stores go empty for a week, maybe we'll get some recognition. I'm not too sure how else to say it, but we need it to be recognized as a recognized industry. And again, bringing it into the schools. There's a lot of kids and a lot of students that are right now thinking, I don't want to go to university. I don't want to go to college, but I still need to make a good income. And I still, we have a lot of kids right now, and I can only imagine the last 2 years that have some anxiety orders or some didn't get that right set off from grade 11 to grade 12 here. The last 2 years of grade 11, grade 12. Now I'm not too sure what I'm going to do. No counseling. It's a good stepping stone, truck driving and then getting into the transportation career. It's a great place to start from the ground up. And then again, at the end of the day, once you get into it and you see the money, like our baseline drivers here are making $90,000. That's not bad for getting a job and starting without any education behind you or having 5 to 7 years of experience behind your belt as well. So please don't look at it. Go get your license, have understand the risk of the driving, and jump on board because it is a great career. It is a great career. You're going to meet such amazing people all over and so much amazing communities, and it opens your eyes up because again, like look at me, I'm here in Canada speaking to France and Brussels and Greece. It's just incredible. So this is what you see on the road. We get to see all of this in one little community. So yes, it's I don't know why there's a shortage. Sometimes I find the shortages, we have to look more at the supply chain. The demurrage, the time spent at suppliers and receivers is a lot of that time as well. The shortages, we're spending way too much time at people's buildings instead of being down the road.
Thank you, Sandra. And maybe for the next question, I'll ask Rania to respond to this one. So we've been asked, how can we create a vision when we're surrounded by men? And then how can we ensure that we are listened to? Rania.
I think everyone is looking for a new vision today. I mean, let's see what Magali is doing. I mean, sustainability is becoming top of the agenda of the boards and of the new leadership. So the vision goes with the leadership, and it's all brand new. I mean, you cannot be a leader if you only think about, we said that many times, only about growth, profits, and so on. You need to think about, innovation, about reaching out to, more people in society, how you keep your customers satisfied, how you care about the environment, and so on. So, becoming someone who is shaping a vision in a different way, it's what is really today appreciated by corporates, right? I'm talking about the business and the corporate world. Obviously, there are also many initiatives from civil society that you can really, have an impact both on the social element, but also on the environmental element. But there's so many things, you can do within organization to start changing the culture and to start promoting different dialogues at board level, which are incorporated in a company's strategy and business plan, which I think it provides a totally new, let's say, different opportunities for women, but also for men. To show the kind of visionaries and leaders they are in today's world, and really we need these new, let's say, mindsets in order to be able to be successful over the long run.
Thank you, Rania. And we have another question here. for all of you to whoever wishes to answer it. So how can we handle a power game in terms of how people behave in a job? And here, one of you mentioned that sometimes it was not always easy to work with other women. So it wasn't so much, it wasn't always, it's sometimes not easy to work with other men. But one of you made the remark that also sometimes working with other women can prove very challenging. And I myself have experienced that as well in the past. So I think this question is a more global one for men and women. How can you handle such power games that may come up in your interactions during a professional life, and the way in which people are behaving in a job? Who would like to start on that one?
I can start, and I would just say that in my case, I've always refused to play those games. I've always refused because I've always decided that my ultimate goal was the company, what benefits the company. And internal wars often do not benefit the company. And I know it sounds like it's easier said than done, but it's amazing when you refuse to enter the power game and you decide to ignore it. You actually manage, most times I have managed just to, not listen to people and pursue my goal because I know my goal is greater than that fight. And my goal in my current job, my goal is to change the business model of a company so that we can address climate change. There's no power game that's going to distract me from that goal. So sometimes it's quite funny because I feel like there's a bit of that competition of who will announce the best thing to the boss and who will do that. And I'm like, guys, do it. I don't care. I will be judged on my results. I will be judged on what I do. And it's not by claiming higher, bigger, etc., that I'm going to make myself look any better. So, and this is where diversity is so important and change of leadership is so important. I think the days of the big showing who you are strong and you are the stronger means that you are the better manager have to be behind us. And I know that transition is very slow to happen, and we still listen more to people who speak louder and who make more noise. But it's up to all of us, and I mean all of us, maybe even more the women of my type of age, where because we are in position where we can make those changes to bring different type of leadership and to lead by example, to not go into that and to accept, I gave you an example of imposter syndrome earlier. And something I didn't tell you is when I was being interviewed on it, the person who interviewed me said, can you give me an example of imposter syndrome? And I gave her the same one that I just gave you. And she said, well, you are the first senior leader woman that I interview who is actually accepting to share a story of imposter syndrome. And I said, well, that's exactly the point. Women who are now in a senior position tend to, because they're role models, all the models they have around them are men, to really follow that track of I can't show weaknesses. I can't show who I am truly. And we need to break that. And if we break that, and if we are the first one to go out and say, no, I'm happy to talk about my imposter syndrome. I'm happy to say that I was wrong there and that I did that wrong and I learned from it. And we all know that making mistakes is all right as long as you learn from it, etc. If we all push that way, there will not be any more power games because they will be obsolete. There will be management of the past. So I'm not sure I was really helpful for people who deal with that as of today, but that's how I've been dealing with it myself over the years.
Thank you, Magali. Rania, Sandra, is there anything
and also to what Magali said, I think these days companies are not looking for big egos. They're not looking for people that are playing the power games and basically they're distorting sort of a good culture, or a good climate of people working together. I think the leaders of the future, my belief, and what I felt from my career is that people that they have empathy, that they've got ethics. I mean, ethics and values. It sounds like, a stereotype, but it's not. I mean, it's so important. If you're ethical, if you're fair, if you're honest, if you treat people well, it's something that gives you power, to move ahead and this is something which lately, over the last years, being appreciated more and more. So, egos and power games, yes, probably they still exist, but, the good guys sometimes make it longer and become more successful because they're thinking of others. They're thinking about the impact they have, on a broader, let's say, universe than really to sort of the organization and themselves. So, yeah, I'm optimistic about that the power games will become less and less going forward.
Thank you, Rania and Sandra. Anything you would like to add on this?
Yeah, the struggles, the games, I find a lot with the women when I've come into an organization that they've been there for a while. I think it's just human nature. They want to make sure that they're still listened to, heard, and I'm coming in a whole different set of skill sets and everything like that as well, but they still feel that challenge. They still feel, and I try to reassure them. I reassure them all the time because, again, I'm always coming in and then bouncing right above them, and it's just that little bit of conflict I get with them. Sometimes it smooths out, sometimes it doesn't. And again, I'm like, Magali, I'm here for the greater good, not for the business. I'm not your friend. We're colleagues. If it gets too troubled, I expect upper management to work with it. And that's where I find if the leaders can't deal with the issues, because again, especially when you're the new person coming into the organization. I'll keep it to that.
Thank you very much, Sandra. So we're just coming up to the last 9 minutes of the webinar. As I said, our goal is to finish on time because I know everybody has a very busy afternoon ahead of them. But before handing over to Rafaela for a couple of final comments, maybe Magali, could you maybe share some of the reflections and based on the comments that have been made today, some of the ideas that have raised, and just your general thoughts and encouragement, I would say, to the people who have followed this webinar?
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, I want to say I was very impressed by both Rania and Sandra's testimonies. I think there are so many wonderful women out there who are tracking the way and, getting their trailblazers, and that's amazing. And that gives so much hope for the new generation, that there's so many role models out there. But I think there's few things I picked today, and Rania talked a lot about challenges. And I think it's very clear as women, we will certainly face more challenges than men, still for a while. It's not going to disappear tomorrow morning. And it's all right. And it's all right because instead of escaping them, we need to embrace them, and we need to grow with them. Because what I think people don't realize is you grow so much with those challenges that your career actually progresses much quicker. So you need to take those extra challenges we have as the positive and not as something dragging you down. You need to take something as really pushing you outside your own limits, and that's how you progress as a career. The other thing I would say is you have to dare to be the leader you want to be. You have to, we need to change the leadership style of the companies, and companies are starting to realize that. And it will only happen if you truly dare and you don't try to resemble to somebody who is not you, or resemble to a style of management which is not you. And I would maybe finish by saying there's so many places for so many more women to come on at all levels of the organization, that we have to help each other. And I think this type of webinars is about that. We need to find the men who are going to help us, and there are many out there. There are many men. Well, because I was surrounded by men, I was certainly more often helped by a man than by a woman myself. But find your allies and work with them, use them, and be an ally yourself to the others. And I think, that would be the few words I have to say. But I was very, very happy to be here in this panel with two great ladies, Rania and Sandra. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much to you, Magali, for sharing your insights, and indeed also to Sandra and to Rania. As you said, I think everybody has found this this discussion very useful. Let's hope in a few years' time we'll be able to come back and see that there has been a big shift and a big change in our work environment, particularly several of us, we have children, some of us have young children. Let's hope that things will be even easier or be better for them when they set out on their careers. So once again, thank you very much for your useful interventions. We will be circulating a short survey after this in the VVox. So in the VVox app, there is a survey for everybody. It'd be really great if you could complete that so that we have some feedback for future webinars. And from my side, that is it. I now hand over to Rafaela on behalf of the platform of the hub. Rafaela.
Okay, thank you. So, well, I think we have had a very interesting webinar. Then I will add very little. What I've done, I've written down a few keywords that I think are significant because they recur in all the speakers' talks. And they are skills, confidence, commitment, ethical, network, and we are here for that, and especially passion. And these are important words, and all our webinar was about that at the end. But I also heard the word hard. Then we still have to work on women's empowerment, and we had interesting stories of successful women who realized their career, but also personal goals within their families. A common thought that emerged was that it is important to be yourself, to follow your dreams, and not to penalize yourself by thinking that being a woman is an obstacle for you, because often we are the best enemy of ourselves, and that is the truth. These stories are encouraging and show us that something has changed also in female awareness, and that we are in the position to make change. There are obstacles, and in this case, it is good to ask for support to face them seriously. And in my opinion, it also emerges that female solidarity is important beyond the fact that working in a male environment should not make a difference. Women networks and the involvement of men also help a lot, especially with regards to balancing work and personal life, which for women remains a greater burden than for men, unfortunately. And we have seen that also in recent times. I just would like to conclude by thanking everyone for participating in this event and for making it stimulating and vibrant, our speakers, but also everyone who asked so interesting and important questions. And I will finish, I promise. Keep an eye on this space, because there will be another interesting event later in the spring, and keep in touch. And thanks again to everyone.